Hello, what's up, y'all? Doing videos. I'm doing multiple videos today, so I'm probably got like two more to do. But I just want to give this one a little bit feedback because for you who are new to my channel, and this is something I just started up because my other phone I lost it and I can't claim my Google account, so that one's over there. But it's okay because I wanted to start from a fresh new and some new material. And I'm supposed to be merging with my wife soon. So I think when I merge with hers, I think when we start doing videos, I want like it to be on hers. So it'll be this channel and then it'll be that channel, and she'll probably be on my video on my channel sometimes when I can get her on, and then I'll be on her. Me and her probably be on there, and she'll probably be doing her own thing also. So it'll kind of probably be times where like we'll probably share where we both are doing a duet on a topic that we feel passionate about. But anyway, I wanted to tell y'all how I got into knowing God and how I became a believer. I was brought up a Baptist, believing that you getting baptized make you saved. That's what I thought as a kid. So I got baptized as a kid. I had a fear since I was like since I was I had this fear of going to hell since my mama told me of death. When I was young, she told me that I was very young. I was like 7. I think I was 7 or 6 or 7. I think I was 7. My mom was cooking, and while I'm making, I might think she was making potato salad. Funny, I can remember that. I think it was potato salad that she was making, and as she's cutting up these eggs, she's telling me she's making me like aware about death. But how she told me about death, like traumatized me at life, and I feel like you should be very careful how you explain death to people, because she was like, one day you gotta die. And I was like, what? What's death? And she was like, yeah. And she was just talking like matter of fact, like, yeah, you're gonna die. And I said, what's that? She says, when you die, you stop breathing and you become a skeleton. So she said that, dude, and I started like crying. Started crying. And because she was like, you stop breathing, I knew how it was to swim. So I feel like that's like terrible. Like I thought in my mind as a kid, I felt like that meant that when I die, I'm going to be in a state of holding my breath for eternity. So that scared the crap out of me. And then she told me that there was a heaven and hell, and she was talking about hell. So that scared me more. Like, yo, how do I know I'm not going to this place? So since then, as a kid, I had this fear of going to hell. That I don't want to go to the lake of fire. You feel me? I don't want to go to a lake of fire. And so during the time I was in church, and I would hear about them saying like all the things you had to do to go to heaven, and they'll do altar call. Well, one day I was like, I don't know, I think I was like 9 or 10. I think it was 9 or 10. And I went to, I think it was 9. And I went to altar call, and I wanted to know Christ. So I accepted Christ. And, I asked the lady, I was like, she was telling me all these things, and it sounded great about God. And then I kept trying to ask her, I was like, well, how do I know I'm not going to hell? Though, I said, how can I know for sure I'm not going to hell? Because I wanted to, like, do whatever it was that was not going to get me to go to hell. So the woman told me she didn't know. And I was like, what? You don't know? And I was like, oh, heck no. Like, in my mind, I'm like, what? I became really fearful. Like, if she don't know, then who do know? You feel me? So I went through life for like 8 more years. Like, I was, 10 at that time? 9? So 11 more years, I went with this fear of death, man. This fear of death. And I remember at one moment where, I was in juvie. There's one girl. There's one time I went and had a dream. I started to read the Bible more, right? Because when I was like, this time I'm 15. Oh no, I was 14 going on 15. So this time I'm 14 going on 15. And basically what happened was, man, that I had a vision. I had started reading the Bible, and there was this guy named Marvin. His name was Marvin. And me and him used to have Bible study in juvie a lot. And I was having Bible study, man. I had a vision. I had a vision about how the world ended. It was 2 nights in a row. The first night it was by water. The second night it was by fire. But with one with water, what happened was I was so I went to sleep, and I had been reading the Bible that night. Keep in mind, I have never read and comprehended. I have never comprehended how the flood happened. So I'm reading it, and I'm reading the Bible, and it's not Genesis. I'm reading the Bible, and that night I went and had a dream. I had a dream that the flood happened, right? And water came out of the ground. It was like somebody had put a stopper in the tub, and water was coming out. It was like a water was coming out of the ground. And so I was like, jump in the dream. I could jump really high, so I was jumping on like cars and houses, and it got to the point where I was jumping on bridges, and I was trying to jump on the highest bridge that I could get to, right? And at that point, the water stopped. After it stopped, I looked up, and like the heavens was like filled with water, just started coming down, and it wiped the world out. It was like somebody dumped a bucket. So I remember, right? The next day I had read about the flood, and dude, it freaked me out. I was so freaked out to realize that the Bible says that when God flooded the world, that the waters, mist came out of the ground, and that He broke the floods, the fountains of the deep inside the earth, and made it come up. It ruptured out of the earth, and then He also made the floodgates in the heavens, where the firmament, where He had divided from the firmament, He let the floodgates come through and just destroy the world, man, just flood the world. And when I seen that, I was like, wow. That night I went to sleep, and that night I went to sleep, and all of a sudden, like, I had another dream. It was like end of the world again. This time, it was fire, and it was just like when we was in this tower, and there was folks in it. It was like a lot of folks in it, and we was looking out the window, and we was looking, and there was this big wall of fire, dude. That was like, I'm talking about, it was like sky high. That's how big it was. Sky high. You couldn't escape it. Not even an airplane. And it was coming and just like engulfing everything, man. It engulfed everything. And just like, yo, I was like, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. So I ran out the tower. And I'm running, running for my life. And I'm looking in behind me, and it's like right behind me. And I'm so much looking behind me that when I look forward, another wall comes through and just engulfed me. I woke up like, whoa. So for that few years, for that time, I was 14, and it wasn't until 8, I still ended up, I still was living a life of heavy sin at that time, but I was kind of like not doing it as much, I kind of like had like limits. So anyway, I got 18, and I'm like sleeping with all types of females. I'm sleeping with all types of females that year. Like, I was like, it was the year where I found out that I was attractive and I felt very handsome, you know what I mean? And so at that year, I was like, I wanted to see how many females that I could get. And I remember, I still remember, like, just taking ladies out to eat and sleeping with them that night, and just going to the next one and doing the same thing. That whole year I remember doing it, to the point where I got my neighbor, and I wasn't even attracted to her. And when that happened, I decided that was a problem, and I needed that. I said, if all life is getting drunk, getting high, and having sex, then then life is like hell. There's nothing to this. So anyway, I started to research all the questions I had about God, man. And that was, at the time, I didn't have a computer. So we had PlayStation 3. So I went on the internet. I went on there, and I like looked up everything that I could about God. And I realized that there was a lot of things that I learned about God that is not taught about church. I realized that God is a God that holds up justice, but God isn't as bad as like the church you used to try and make him. And what I mean by that is, they used to try and make him that he's a God that as soon as you do something bad, you're dead. That's not true. That's not true. I was learning that God is long suffering. Don't get me wrong. That he He does not like you to be rebellious on purpose. But he's long suffering for those that have a struggle. You feel me? For those who don't know what they're doing. He's long suffering from those. The ones that are wicked and don't care, like the ones that rob, steal, and you know what I'm saying, they just do it to hurt people. They're hurting folks while doing this. Those are the folks that like he don't like and that he hates. You know, he's angry with them. You know, he's angry with the wicked. You feel me? And so I started learning this. And then I started getting so into it, man, that like I spent my whole days doing this. And then I started learning about like everything else. Like I was learning about like extraterrestrials and how that tied in with like the Bible, because when you look at it, it said the fallen angels came, and I was looking at all types of sources that had biblical references, and then I came across things that was like books that was not even in the Bible. I mean, they came across books that was in the Bible but was taken out the Bible. So I was learning a lot of things, and so as I was learning, I was watching. I will not just read one source. I won't read one source and be like, that's the gospel. I believe that. No, because I always knew, I wanted to know that there's always more to what somebody else knew. So what I would do is I'll go through many articles of the same subject, and if they all said the same thing, and if one said the same thing, just had like some more meat, but it went with what I was saying, I was like, that's the truth. That's the truth. And then I'll make sure they went with the Bible. And I'll be like, that sounds exactly right. My spirit was there. So the Most High was like leading me to this and leading me the way. So I learned all this stuff. And then I think the following year, I learned that I was a Hebrew Israelite. And that right there was like astonishing, man. Because I was like, man, my grandma always told me that we was the children of the Lord. But I thought that she meant that like spiritual. She used to say, we're the lost tribes of Israel. And I used to be like, wow, I didn't, I was like, dang, I wish I could talk to her more and, found out more of what she knew. But anyway, the point is that God led me. And once I found out that I was a Hebrew Israelite, I took it even more seriously. Now, I would like to take it more seriously, even more, and get more time to open up to speak the languages more. So I need to do that. But other than to really have a fear of the Most High and to really try to honor Him, I felt like I needed to do that. Now, even though, let's not get it twisted, even though I was learning this knowledge, I still was a babe in it. So like I still was like false. I still had flaws, and there was still knowledge to be perfected. Still now there's knowledge to be perfected, because knowledge is never ending. And anybody that think that they should know, any wise man who think that he knoweth anything, knoweth that he knows nothing. So that's the first thing of knowledge, is that you know nothing. And that only when you go about everything as though I don't know nothing is when you can learn something new and you learn something more. And so anyway, point is, I got to know God. That's how I got to know God. And through this whole thing, I'm 30 years old now. So I was like, 18 then. And like, I could talk to people about God, and I could like stick with them. And I could like, I read the Bible. By the way, it'd be years later that I got locked up, and I did some time. I didn't hurt nobody. I just knew about crime that a family member had committed, and because they knew I knew about it, I got time. I did 5 years, so it's like the Joseph experience. So I had got the Joseph experience. But during that time, y'all, I found it was the most amazing time that I spent with God, because, man, I read the whole Bible, front to back, in 2 weeks. And once I read it, I remember it. Like, I can remember a lot of the story. You could tell me some things, I'd be like, oh, I remember that, yeah. And I can elaborate on what that meant. So it's like, and to be honest, it's fun. I'm going to go and read it again, because you're going to get something new every time. So like, I want to go back and read it again. But I realized that God was real, and that I had a complete understanding of God's plan for humanity. That no matter how many times that God continues to forgive us, there's not, it's never going to be perfect until He come back, until Christ come back and set this world right. Yes, we have saved, we're saved. Yes, we are under God's grace, but we will not be perfect until He makes us perfect in that day. So I can't wait for that day. But that's my testimony, and I want to go about to the next video, which talks about like the experiences that I had. So maybe you guys can like elaborate. So anyway, about to end this. I hope that you like my testimony. But that's how I got about it. And I pray that you leave a subscribe, comment, leave a like below, and share this video, and just help it. But yeah, I'm about to make the other part about the experience. So watch that one too.